All right, all right. Good afternoon, everyone. And Dr. Wilmer Leon here. Connecting the dots is where we are. And there's been a problem with StreamYard. And yes, Zhao Yun, hey, well, thank you. And the show seems to be having technical difficulties. Actually, it's a matter of StreamYard having technical difficulties. So we're just going to have to wing it from there. A couple things that I wanted to just be sure that we hit in terms of news stories today. There are some headlines about probably now about an hour ago. U.S. Senator Alex Padilla was physically removed from a news conference that was being held by Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. She was hosting this conference in California, in Los Angeles. And of course, he is the senior senator from California. And he wanted to, I guess, either speak with her or provide her with some type of information, which she did not seem to be receptive to. And he was physically removed from the news press conference. The reporting was that he was thrown to the floor outside of the conference, and then he was handcuffed, and there was some question as to whether he was subsequently detained, if not arrested. Others were reporting that he was handcuffed, escorted out, and then released. I don't know yet what has actually transpired beyond what I saw on the news, which was he's trying to speak, she is ignoring him. You hear someone say, "Put your hands up, put your hands up." They grab him, push him out of the room, and then that was the end of, at least from the video that I could see. Uh, an Air India passenger jet bound for London with 242 passengers and crew members aboard. It crashed into a Indian neighborhood shortly after takeoff in the city of Ahmedabad. That's it. Ahmedabad. Earlier today. Earlier reports were no survivors. Now it's being reported that there's one survivor, and the Boeing 787, it had 242 passengers and crew members on board. And I think it's important to note that in the past 5 years, two Boeing 737 MAX aircraft have crashed, resulting in 346 fatalities. Now we have a Boeing 787 aircraft that has crashed with 242 passengers on board. Well, we're all now gearing up for Saturday, June 14th, military parade, big protests. This is, I think, from the, where's this from? This is from the Wall Street Journal, I believe. Military parade, big protests will fuel clashing visions of America, the conflict in Los Angeles. This is from the Wall Street Journal. Now forms the backdrop for Saturday's military parade on Donald Trump's birthday, and it is also my birthday as well. I thought that Donald Trump was staging this parade in recognition of my birthday, but now I find him being the greedy Pete that he is for his birthday. There will also be a nationwide No Kings protest. So again, against the backdrop of the protests that are taking place in Los Angeles, that started in Los Angeles last Friday night or Saturday, and have now moved across the country to San Francisco, to Oakland, to Dallas, to a number of other cities in Texas, to New York City, uh, amidst or against the backdrop of those protests, we now have um, the Donald Trump big recognition of the 250th anniversary of the Army, and then there will be the No Kings protest as well. And as we talked about with Dr. Jim Kavanaugh yesterday, it's ironic that Donald Trump has created this celebration and has said publicly that anyone protesting his parade will be met with extreme force. So once again, he's saying, to hell with the First Amendment. Don't care about the right to peaceably assemble to um, and protest your grievances for the government. Forget all that. He says any protest will be met with force. That's a frightening thing to consider. Iran said earlier today it would soon open a third uranium enrichment site, while President Trump has said that an Israeli strike on Iran could very well happen. Iran's announcement about the enrichment site came after the United Nations Nuclear Watchdog Agency decided for the first time in 2 decades that Tehran had failed to comply with its non-proliferation obligations. Now, that's a very, very concerning thought, that after 20 years of compliance, since they say this is the first time in 2 decades, after 20 years of compliance, the United Nations all of a sudden decides that Tehran is failing to comply with its non-proliferation obligations. One really has to wonder with that, how much of this is contrived by the West and then surprisingly supported by the UN versus that Tehran is actually now no longer that folks. This is another one of those instances where you've heard me say before, does the story make sense? I don't know if it's true or false, but again, I just simply ask the question, does the story make sense? And the story does not make sense. And here's why I say that. Tehran and the United States are supposed to be nuclear negotiations, and we're supposed to be coming up on, I think, the 6th or the 7th or the 8th round of negotiations. You have, during this process, you have the Zionist settler colonial state of Israel itching to bomb Tehran or Iran. The United States, Donald Trump, has been telling them, no, don't do it. And they have been desperately trying to find a reason, trying to find a rationale, trying to find a justification for bombing Iran. So why then all of a sudden, after why then all of a sudden, after 20 years of compliance, does the UN all of a sudden support, or I'm sorry, why does the UN all of a sudden state that they're not in compliance with their obligations, their non-proliferate? It's too much it's too much of a coincidence. It just doesn't make sense. So that I think you got to stay tuned for more on that. Let me see. Saturday will be interesting. Ryan Wagner says Saturday will be interesting, to say the least. And you have to ask yourself about the rationale and the justification for this. This really seems to be Donald Trump has been wanting to do this. He wanted to do this he wanted to have this military parade during his first administration. And that was never able to be put together. And so now he's been able to finagle this into his doing that. For what? I think you first have to ask yourself, what is the point of having a parade? And let me see if I can quickly, I've heard a number of varying numbers here. Let me see. Let me see if I can find out what they're going to show me here in terms of, okay. Okay, they say it's going to be between 25 million and 45 million. And I think that's erring on a very conservative estimates, because I'm not really sure what that number is based on. 25 to 45 million. Is that merely the cost of bringing all of this hardware to Washington, D.C., and the salaries of the personnel that are needed to operate it? That's got to be a low number, because they're going to have military flyovers, and we know, it's some. Let me see. Let me check another number here. How much does it cost to operate a F-16 jet per hour? Okay. It costs $27,000 to roughly $27,000 per flight hour to operate an F-16. So this $45 million number, when you start factoring in, when you start asking specific questions such as I'm asking now, that 45 million, you're going to burn through 45 million fairly quickly. How much is it going to cost the District of Columbia to provide the security in terms of the Metropolitan Police Department for this foolish boondoggle called Donald Trump's parade? How much is it going to cost to bring in the National Guard that you got to bring in to protect this type of foolish boondoggle called Donald Trump's parade? One of the things that I don't know if you all across the country or around the world, do you realize that at various times throughout the evening tomorrow, Friday, and throughout the day on Saturday, they're going to stop air traffic at Washington National Airport? So how much is that going to cost the airlines in terms of backup, the repercussions of flights across the country that are not going to be able to land at National, not going to be able to take off from National. And they're not closing National Airport, but at certain times throughout the day, they're going to stop air traffic at National throughout the entire day and into the evening. Because I think this boondoggle starts at 6 p.m., if my memory serves me correctly. So when they have a $45 million estimate. I'd really like to know what that number is going to include, because there are the ripple effect of this across the country is just going to be horrific. Um, Dr. Nick Rivera says, "Oh, I took y'all to school yesterday with my Sly Stone knowledge." Well, I was a big Sly Stone fan, and obviously, that's thank you, Dr. Nick. That's funny. Um, oh, and just when you think this cat can't get any cooler, well, as I said, I've been cool a long time. So things. Okay, so hot. So here to there says things won't go in Iran like they did in Iraq, to say the least. Oh, oh, shoot. Uh, Here to there, you are absolutely right. For a number of reasons, things won't go in Iran the way they went in Iraq. For again, first of all, Iran is a much larger country, much larger population, and they have been preparing for a fiasco like this for a very long time. We're a long way away. If y'all can remember the Scud missile, remember that flying bumblebee that you could launch it, but you were praying that it would hit its. No, the technology has advanced a long way from the Scud missile, and because they now have hypersonics that Israel doesn't have, the United States doesn't have, NATO does not have. That's why one reason why Ansar Allah in Yemen has been able to um, shut down maritime traffic in the Red Sea, because of their advanced missile technology. So, no, this is not going to go the same way in Iran that it went in Iraq. Also, the Iranians have just announced, as I'm sure you all know, that they have been able to obtain a lot of what were considered top secret Israeli nuclear documents. So it seems as though they have access to where these nuclear weapons are being stored. They have access to a lot of very detailed information regarding the Israeli nuclear infrastructure. So that, I would believe, would be a game changer. So you have to ask yourself, why would Benjamin Netanyahu be so hell bent on starting a conflict that could devastate the region? A no win. It Everybody loses in this venture. Nobody walks out of this thing with victory, which is one reason why Iran has been so patient, has been so reserved in their responses, because they know this is a no win. But they're also saying, when you force me to respond, I will respond. So if we look at what's been transpiring with Netanyahu and his criminal charges, he could very well wind up going to jail. Benjamin Netanyahu and his wife might be spending time in the Israeli marital suite at some prison in Israel. And so he may be thinking that the only thing that he'll be able to do to save his foolish behind is to start a conflict with Iran. Nobody wins that, folks. This so-called Iron Dome is like a sieve. It's like a colander. it's a colander. It's a big bowl with a whole lot of holes in it. And they have been able to demonstrate, Iran that is, as well as Ansar Allah. They've been able to demonstrate we can strike you where we want to strike you, when we want to strike you. So it's a fool's errand. Here to there says, spot on, Dr. Wilmer. I served in the sandbox, and my friends who went to go to Europe with current conflict drones say that was child's play. They say it was horrifying. Iran has the real drone tech also. Absolutely. Absolutely. So even though that's not being reported on here, it's real. It's real. So again, you have to ask yourself, why now? Ask yourself this: why has Iran decided now to announce that they've obtained these Israeli nuclear documents? Assuming what they have obtained is accurate, assuming what they have obtained is current. On my Sirius XM show tomorrow, on channel 126, I have an interview with Ray McGovern. And Ray and I, because we taped it today, Ray and I talk about this Iran issue. And Ray, apparently, if I remember what Ray said accurately, let me put that on me. He said about 30 minutes after Iran announced that they had obtained these documents, Press TV, which is Iranian television, called Ray and did an interview, a 30-minute interview with Ray. And he said to them, I suggest, he said something to the effect of, if I may be so presumptuous as to make a recommendation to the Iranian government, he said, I suggest before you release the documents, you send the documents to an independent third party to verify. He said, don't send them to the UN, send them to an independent, trusted third party to validate and verify. And then once you have validated and verified these documents, he said, then you can go ahead and release them to the public. He said, because if you send them to the what is it, the NAI, not the NAIA, the UN Agency for Nuclear, whatever it is, IAEA. Thank you, Cam 35. Thank you, IAEA. That their bias, in a nutshell, that the IAEA is biased, and that this is something that is so serious that you can't get caught into this this info war, or you can't get caught into this back and forth, this propaganda back and forth about, are the documents real, are they not, blah, 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 blah. You need an independent third party to validate what you have. And then once that's been validated, Iran is able to say, we went to an independent third party, these documents have been validated. With all that being said, assuming that the documents are valid, assuming that they are legitimate, you have to ask yourself, why did Iran decide to release that they have the documents now? I think this was a strategic move. Stuff like this doesn't happen by accident. So I think this was a strategic move to send another message to Israel and to send another message to the United States and to send a message to Britain. Look, you're smoking at the gas station. You're messing with the wrong folks. Don't do it. Nobody wins, and we're not bluffing. I think, I've been in a few circumstances where in terms of physical confrontations where I've known I'm about to get pounded, but I got to fight. The circumstance has left me no choice, and I think this is what Iran is saying. You all are going to push this thing to the point that you're leaving us no choice. So it ain't gonna be pretty, folks. It ain't gonna be fun. It ain't gonna be pretty fun. And to this too, I think you also have to ask yourself, where's Saudi Arabia in this conversation? Where are the Saudis? And ask yourself, where's China in this process? Because we know that China was able, this now seems to be decades ago, but it was only, a year ago, that China was able to negotiate détente and negotiate an agreement between the Saudis and the Iranians. They brought in rapprochement between the two entities. So one has to wonder, where is China in all of this? Isaac T. Studio, $15 a gallon gas is coming to a pump near you. It very well could be. Uh, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Absolutely. But $15 a gallon. And this is another element to this, folks, that you really have to take into account. So much of this is self-imposed. I mean, when you sit back and you look at how these things are unfolding and you look at what is unfolding, you have to ask yourself, why? Why? And Donald Trump, why continue the foolishness in Ukraine? It's self-imposed. It's this is, there didn't have to be this fight. Donald Trump, why escalate the tension in California? I mean, and these are for all intents and purposes now rhetorical questions, but you still have to ask the question: why are you starting this fight? Why are you escalating the situation in California? Why, Donald Trump, did you make the conscious decision to start this trade war? So, why is the United States on this deadly path to start a fight with China? The United States is picking these fights. Thank God President Xi Jinping is not a reactionary figure like Donald Trump. Thank God Vladimir Putin is not a reactionary figure like Donald Trump. Thank God Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela is a thoughtful person. Random. Excuse me, you seem to have another stream scheduled on the same time with the same name and random. That could be a result of our trying to deal with the StreamYard issue. And I'm not really sure how all of that shook out. So thank you for the heads up. I'm not quite sure what to say other than what I just said. Stay here with me. How about that? Because I'm a pretty bad boy, but I can't be in two places at the same time. I'm still working on. Trust me, I'm working on that, but I haven't quite gotten all the kinks in that worked out. So, who was that? Random Zerg. Uh, Thank you, but y'all stay with me here again because we were trying a couple of different things as we were trying to overcome the StreamYard problem. So I'm not quite sure how all of that shook out. So, oh, okay. You were waiting in the chat and good. Okay. So thank you for your patience. But this is one of those situations where at the very last minute, StreamYard went down globally and we were scrambling trying to figure out a way to resolve the problem. And so that's how we got to where we are. So with that, let me see here. So here to there says, and Mr. Mertz and Starmer's recent bellicose commentary regarding escalation is quite concerning. Trump seems to be bending on all fronts. Oh, there's no question. A couple of things. First of all, so Mertz and Starmer, their bellicose commentary. This goes back to the question: why start the fight? So you have to ask Mertz, you have to ask Starmer, why are you fanning the flames in Ukraine? Look, we've been hearing it. Let's just pick from the 22nd of February of 2022, which is, I think, when this thing started in Ukraine. They've been saying Vladimir Putin is going to take over Europe. Vladimir Putin has this grand strategy to get the Soviet Union back. All of that, folks. You've never heard Vladimir Putin say that. I don't think you've ever even seen Vladimir Putin do anything to indicate that. Ali Quolion, my dear brother. Dr. Leon, I think your commentary on Iran was absolutely right. Ali would know. Let me tell you something about this brother right here, really quickly. Personal side note. Ali Quolion. This brother was helped me tremendously in both of my trips to Iran. He is a translator, and he is an English teacher in Iran. Beautiful brother. Ali, thank you so much for that point. I really, and he's in Iran. He knows what the hell he's talking about. Anyway, so the question is, why is Europe so hell bent on fanning the flames of conflict in Ukraine? And so why are they with their bellicose language and their saber rattling and their jingoism and all that stuff? Why are they doing this? And there are a couple of things that need to be always factored in. One is, I think they're believing their own propaganda. They're believing their own press clippings. They're also very concerned and very afraid that the United States is basically going in the direction of abandoning Ukraine because they're pivoting towards China. And so they're trying to convince their own electorate, their own population, that they're going to have to bite the bullet as Europe puts more of its own money into fueling the flames and funding this fiasco that we know to be Ukraine. So the BS is compounding the BS, compounding the BS. I think those are some realities here that folks have to pay attention to. Let me see what ruminations with Andrew. If you are examining the U.S. from the standpoint of democracy, your questions are legitimate. But if you are looking at the U.S. from the perspective of a full-blown empire, then everything is logical. Ruminations with Andrew. I understand your point. I might take exception to the word logical. What I might say is it has historic precedent because what we are experiencing is the process of decline that every empire goes through. And that whether you're looking at the Greek Empire, you're looking at the Roman Empire, looking at the British Empire, you're looking at the Ottoman Empire, they've all gone through this same process of decline. So, you and I, on that point, it might wind up being more of a conversation or an issue around semantics than a debate about point counterpoint, because it's not logical. Because if it was logical, if those that are in charge of the American empire were logical, and that's your word, were logical, they would look at the shift in the global landscape and say, the time of our empire is on the wane, is coming to a close. We have to change tactics if we want to maintain any modicum of control of the global dynamic going forward. We now need to go along to get along, as opposed to continue to try to impose our will upon the world, because other entities, other elements, other factions have developed on the world stage that we will no longer be able to control. So if they were logical, rumination with Andrew, in my opinion, if they were logical, that's the mindset that would start to control the decisions and the actions that are being made by those in control of the U.S. failing empire. Don't know what you think about that, but my thoughts on that point. Why I just saw your, don't know what was deleted there. What you're referring to? What comment you're referring to? That's a conversation y'all are having amongst yourselves. You can't always immediately tell. Oh, okay, that's another. Okay. Zhao Yun. I did mention the Persian Empire. Oh, well, I said no. I'm sorry. I said the Ottoman. You're right. The Persian Empire and the Chinese as well. Zhao Yun, you're absolutely right. I ran out of empires. What can I say? And the Russian. Hey, folks, I didn't mention every empire that's been in existence since time immemorial. I just picked, like top five. With that, folks, or here to there, indeed, Dr. Wilmer, fair to say the U.S. empire kleptocracy has stripped itself to the bare bones, the effects of decades of short-term thinking. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. So with that, y'all, again, we found ourselves impacted by events beyond our control. We were able to put together this very brief conversation. I'm going to reach back out to Ajamu Baraka and see if we can move the conversation we were going to have today, see if we can move it to Monday. And Dr. Nick, you are welcome. Dr. Wilmer, thanks for the show, even with the tech issues. Hey, folks, it's always my honor. It's always my pleasure to be able to dialogue with you all in the manner in which we do. I appreciate that you all think enough of my observations and analysis to devote and commit the time in your day that you do, because I know you could be doing a whole lot of other things like playing golf, and that you choose to spend your time with me. With all of that, oh, Peggy, thank you. Yes, my birthday is Saturday. And again, I thought that the big parade that was being thrown in Washington was actually being thrown in my honor. And then I go to find out, no, Donald Trump, he's going to have a parade for himself because that's how selfish he is. But with all of that, folks, thank you all again for joining me today. Thanks for enduring the technical difficulties. Thank you all so much for listening. I'm going to try my best to see if I can get Ajamu to join us on Monday. Don't hold me to that one, but that's what I'm going to try to do. Please subscribe. We are. I think we've got almost 8,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel. So those of you that are watching this, and we're all on YouTube here, I believe, please subscribe. Would great that you have no idea what that's going to do to the financial dynamic here that will enable us to improve upon what it is that we are doing now. You can find all the links below. You know where they are. Remember that this is where the analysis of politics, culture, and history converge. That talk without analysis is just chatter, and we don't chatter here on Connecting the Dots. Why? Because we are a rhetoric-free podcast. See y'all next week. Have a no. Oh, actually, my bad. See, I'm thinking it's Friday. No. Time out. Today is Thursday. So what we have for you tomorrow? What do we have for you tomorrow? What we have for you tomorrow is an interview that I did with Mark Schleboda. And I did it for my other show, but folks, it's killer. It's Mark Schleboda in the brilliance of Mark Schleboda. That is what's going to air tomorrow. And Monday, we will I'm gonna see if I can get brother Ajamu Baraka to join us on Monday. But tomorrow, the interview with Mark Schleboda. Oh, just really quickly. Yeah, it does feel like Friday because again, I'm already thinking about my birthday, and so I when he and I spoke right after Ukraine had attacked the Russian bombers at the Russian airbase, and his analysis of that was prophetic. It was almost prophetic. So it's a hell of an interview. You'll get an awful lot from it. So that's what's going to be on tomorrow. And so with that, again, really appreciate y'all sticking with me today. And with that, I say to you all, enjoy the rest of your day. Peace. I'm out.